The next subject I want to talk about is the disconnect of how designers will listen to gamers versus how gamers will present to designers. One thing that often happens is they use online petitions. Now, folks, the reason why you're not going to get to them with online petitions is because you can sign those things multiple times. There's a few people out there that will sign a petition to get Final Fantasy VII re-released on the PlayStation 3 10,000 times. They will waste all day and night doing that. So a few of them doing that can easily generate 100,000 signatures. Now, a bunch of people emailing them nice with professionally written letters might actually get through. At least you'll have a better chance. But one of the reasons why gamers don't tend to do that is because it can be hard to find individual designer email addresses or figure out, especially if you're going to be one of those guys that, signs the petition 10,000 times, why not spend your time looking up who and what has the say-so and who and what might listen?
That I've seen with this is the Sega fan base and sometimes the Final Fantasy fan base. They just continuously send letters and start petitions without really considering what they're doing or who's going to see it.
And a lot of the times a lot of people don't do it, is not managed properly. A petition can be a very, very, very valuable thing if it's managed the right way. For instance, if you have 10,000 letters and it's all sent to one person who compiles them into one long letter, they can see that they're not being flooded with emails, and they can see they will actually take the time to look through the email and get occasionally a few ideas of what's going on, what the general idea is, without having their emails flooded. Because when their email boxes are flooded with shit, they'll just delete them. They won't even look at them.
Yeah, another thing you can do...
When it's presented with one very professional, neat email to begin with, and a description of what the emails are about to be, what the petition's about, they'll look at that, and then they'll see that there's 10,000 emails down there. Oh, this is something they can think about,
Another thing that they can do, call the company and ask some people. You'll get the representative, chances are, who will say, well, I don't know. Well, but then you can say, well, do you know someone who might know, and, go from there.
Look, a bit of investigation work goes a long way. It gets done,
But if you're signing a petition 10,000 times, you're wasting your time. But calling and asking a few questions might just not be wasting your time. I mean, it could still go nowhere. There's some companies that you're not going to get anywhere with. I mean, like, I don't imagine at this point, Team Sonic, I don't imagine any criticism getting anywhere because, with how many fanboys just buy the game anyway, the designers, even though there's more, like we said earlier, that would buy it if they put effort into it, what they're seeing is what they're seeing, and I don't think you can get through to them. But there's plenty of companies that you can get through to, and you can certainly, ask a few questions and try to present your arguments, respectfully.
Like I
think that's a good.
If there's a proper way to do it, and then there's a messy way of doing it.
There are some ways that maybe they should listen to that they don't, like a well-known website that's actually giving them constructive criticism dispassionately and backing it up with good reason that a lot of people listen to. I do think that maybe should get some consideration.
I think there's two fan companies that are actually listening to their fans, and there's the guys who made the Conduit. I think they're called Ultra something. That they're taking suggestions from fans to put stuff into the game, like enemies or different types of weapons. And the other one is Suda51. When No More Heroes 1 came out, a lot of people came up with these problems and these criticisms that were fair, and the guy who's in charge of Suda51 decided to change it for the second game, and they made it much better at gameplay and time management.
To an extent, Nintendo does listen as well. It's just that it takes them a while, I guess. They've gotten better than they were since the N64 days. They do listen to criticism a little better and try to, evolve a little better than they used to.
I think another problem with the people talking to the developers is that, once again, like you said earlier, they don't think about the time it takes into programming, but I think most of the fans are just telling them how to do their jobs.
So there's that. They're using destructive criticism. I get a lot of comments that are destructive on my channel. I just block those people, delete their comments, and ignore them because I'm not going to pay them any mind. I don't care, what they have to say about me. But at the same time, I don't bother to read through and consider their arguments either because, like, if you're being an asshole, go fuck yourself. You don't deserve to have your criticism considered if you're going to act like that. And I think designers often take the same approach. They see these little 13-year-olds emailing them, fuck you, you didn't put this in this game. What do you expect them to do, But if you say, I bought this game and I think it was a good idea, I understand where you were coming from, but I just don't think it worked out. You can see how the latter, might appeal to them a little bit better.
Yeah, oh, definitely. If you're abusing a person, if you're abusing a person, they're just going to go into a defensive mode. Whereas you're communicating with the person, of course they're going to be more open to talking to you,
Well, not necessarily defensive, but they might just ignore you.
That's why, and you've got to have credential. You've got to, no one's going to listen to you if you're 10,000 people who've come out of nowhere. If you've earned your stripes and you've got a name for yourself, then you're more likely to be heard than someone who hasn't actually, been known of before, hasn't made a presence.
I failed to catch what Charlie said the first time around, and I will close this out by making a small rebuttal to it, and don't worry, I'm sharing this with the guy, so he's more than welcome to rebut it with a comment. It is true what he just said. If you have credentials and stuff, you're more likely to be heard, but I think that's extremely problematic. Any game designers that might be watching this, I doubt it, but any of you who might be watching it, take note that 10,000 random people pay your company $500,000 for their games, and that's nothing to shake a stick at. So I do think that just because someone doesn't have their quote-unquote credentials and stuff and haven't made names for themselves doesn't necessarily mean that they shouldn't be heard. You should definitely treat your customers like they matter. While I understand why it looks good on paper to do that, the simple fact of the matter is it makes you look like an asshole whenever you ignore customers who paid your company money for your product. Anyway, thus ends the Skype conference, and that's it.